Well, hello. Welcome back to another Monday meditation. Um, welcome to White City Connect, providing occupiers of White City Place a live platform to learn and engage while supporting well-being from the comfort and safety of your own home. It's a real pleasure to be able to connect this way to keep the vibe going and community. It's all about that. And meditation is a really great way to check in, not just on a local self, to yourself, but also in a non-local way. And we'll talk a little bit about that, how we can get into that. But what I will be doing is I want you at some point. I'd like it if you could think of something that you really, really appreciate. So whilst I'm talking, as I usually do as an intro before we start the meditation, I like to talk pretty much about a theme every week, a different theme every week, really to understand the science behind meditation. I think that's quite important. I think when we know why we feel a certain way and how certain things work, it feels far more attainable. So that's a real key thing of mine. I like to try and explain it in layman's terms, how our body and our mind changes depending on how we are thinking. And obviously meditation is a big part of that, but also an opportunity to put all of those thoughts into play. So we'll be talking a little bit about this week's theme in a minute. But just have a think now. I just want to give you a few seconds to have a think now, because I don't want you to have to then think later on when we're starting the meditation. So have a think now about something that you really appreciate, but it's not yours. So it could be a beautiful piece of art that maybe one of your friends has, or that you've seen in an art gallery, or it could be a really cool piece of clothing, or it could be somebody else's holiday pictures. It could be beautiful nature, in the park. It could be like an incredible bouquet of flowers. I mean, anything at all that you really, really appreciate. Or it could even be somebody's demeanor. You might really admire somebody and, their confidence, or, anything at all. Anything that really makes you go, wow, I really, dig that, or like it, or love it, or I can really appreciate that. Could even be a piece of music. Could be the way that somebody plays an instrument, just watching them play the piano or something like that. So there's so many things it could be. I don't want to bombard you with things that don't belong to you, but have a think of something that you really, really fully appreciate. So I'll just give you a minute to think about that. You don't have to use that thing right now, but you will be soon in the meditation. So I'll just give you, I'll give you a minute from now to think about what that might be. Okay, I think that's probably about a minute, roughly. It's the trouble with digital clocks. If you don't start right on the minute when they change, you have to kind of guess it. But yeah, that'd be about a minute. Okay, cool. So just forget about that for a moment, the thing that you appreciate. And yeah, today's theme is really about heart coherence. So if you've never heard of that, it's basically your heart has certain waves. So your heartbeat would cause waves on a monitor. That's how we can quite often. I'm sure you will all have seen heartbeats on a monitor on a TV show like ER or Grey's Anatomy or something like that. You kind of see the jagged heartbeat going across the screen. So that's obviously a measure of your heart rate, its frequency, but also the actual shape of the heart waves. So when you're really stressed, your heart waves, your heartbeat. So when your heartbeat's on the monitor and you're really, really stressed, it'll be very, very short and jaggy. So there's hardly any distance between each wave, and they're really, really short and jaggy and kind of go up and down quite a bit. When you are not in a stress state and you're in a very positive emotion, your heart rate will look something like this on a monitor. It'll be kind of really lovely flowing waves, and they will all pretty much be the same. And that's something that we can see on a monitor. So it's scientifically backed, and this has been studied over the years. Actually, for a very long time, heart rate has been a big thing for a long time. Heart coherence has been a big thing for a long time. And it's interesting because we always think that our heart is guided by our brain, i.e. the neurotransmitters in our brain send messages to the heart. But in actual fact, the heart sends more messages to the brain, which is very, very interesting and very, very cool. So, I could go into a whole other subject about brain waves, which work very similarly to your HRV, which is your heart rate variables, but I'm going to park the brain waves because that's going to be an information overload. But just know that your heart sends messages to your brain, as well as the other way around, but it's more weighted that way. So messages go to the brain. And your brain, the nervous system, your ANS, they call it, autonomic nervous system, has two components. One is the parasympathetic nervous system, that's your relaxed response. And the other is the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight, the stress response. When your heartbeat is shown as really, really short and jaggy, then that would mean that your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system are out of sync. So it's a little bit like driving down the motorway with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. You can imagine what that would cause. So that's kind of happening in your body. So what's all that got to do with meditation? So what it's got to do with meditation is that we have different responses to life on how we perceive things, how we think, how we train our mind. And our body responds to however we perceive things. Feelings, emotions, sight, sound, smells, touch, taste. And everything works together in your body. It's an incredible machine, obviously. And your mind and your body talk to each other, as we've just discovered. So what we've discovered with these heart rate variables, the lovely, slow, beautiful wave that you want, the consistent, that's called the coherent wave. So when that's that lovely positive emotion that causes that really nice coherent wave, heart wave, that's your parasympathetic nervous system. So that's a coherent wave. And obviously the opposite is true of the other ones. So the sympathetic nervous system is kicking in and the parasympathetic nervous system not jamming together on an incoherent wave. But what they've discovered is that, so obviously we all want to have a coherent wave with our heart. So we want to have this nice regular heartbeat. But what they've discovered is that you can relax, you can have a kind of relaxed meditation, but it doesn't mean to say that it's going to be a coherent heart wave. The coherent heart wave really comes about with positive emotion and being relaxed. So when you're relaxed and you have a positive emotion, the heart wave changes. It can be quite tricky to keep coherent brain waves going. And there are two ways of doing it. So the first, and we're going to do both today. So we've done this breathing before in my previous meditations, and coherent breathing is when you have an in-breath and an out-breath of the same length. Okay, so that's easy. We can do that today. The way to maintain the coherent breathing is through appreciation. Okay, so hence why I was asking you to think about that one thing earlier on, because we're going to bring that into our practice today. So knowing those two things, we can start the coherent breath and we can bring in the appreciation. The idea is that you bring in the appreciation into your meditation, and then you try and focus it on your heart space. I'm going to be guiding you through all of this. It's fine. You don't need to remember, but I think it's really nice and only fair to explain why we're doing this particular meditation today and what it all means and for you. And yeah, I think when we explain it and the science is behind it, we can understand it a little bit better. Good. All right. So we're going to start with another form of breathing, and then we'll go into the whole coherent breath and appreciation. Knowing that will have a very good effect on your heart. And when you have a really good effect on your heart and you have the coherent heart waves regularly through your days, it's a much healthier way to be. It's not just because your heart is in a healthy mode, but it actually affects everything else in your body through this nervous system that we talked about. When your parasympathetic nervous system is working, and it's the key nervous system that's operating at the time, when you go about your daily life is a lot more relaxed. And with meditation, we learn to respond rather than react. That's the whole key thing of doing it, plus all the other amazing benefits. Your immune system, your stress system, everything is related. Everything, like I said before, it's like has a knock-on effect right down the line. So to be the healthiest you want to have this really nice coherent heart rhythm when you're meditating. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing is to get comfortable. So make sure you are comfortable. I'm sitting in a chair because I know that I'm here for the next, half hour or something. So I always advise to maybe have your back supported. It depends how flexible you are. If you like sitting cross-legged on the floor and you're happy to do that for some time and you don't get uncomfortable, you need to move, then do that. Sometimes it's nice just to kind of sit against the sofa, maybe with that behind you. Or in a chair. Just know there's a fine line between falling asleep and meditating. So you want to try and stay awake. And I only mention that because if you are sitting on a sofa, perhaps, you might be kind of like, oh, so relaxed, sitting back, you kind of like nearly nod off. And that's fine if you need to relax. And generally, if you nod off through meditation, you need to sleep more. But if you're really trying to, learn a new way and do it properly, then you want to make sure that you can stay awake. Another thing that's really useful to know is when you are about to meditate, if you make it a regular practice, which honestly, really you have to do that to get the benefits. If you just kind of like duck in and out every now and then, it's not going to have a long-term effect. Think of it like going to the gym. It's bicep curls for your brain, really. If you go to the gym once a week and then don't go for a couple of weeks and you go back, it's just like starting again. It's the same with your brain. And honestly, if you can meditate every day, make time for it, make it a non-negotiable. Find your space, find your time in the day, be selfish about it. If you can't manage, say, 20 minutes, then go for 10. If you can't manage 10, you need to maybe prioritize your life a little bit more. I mean, it's so easy to get stuck, kind of swiping left, swiping right, up, down on our phones. See if you can delay getting on your phone and use that time when you wake up to maybe meditate, or maybe move around a little bit first and then meditate. I do teach yoga as well, but I really recommend if you can move around before you meditate. Yoga is a great thing. We have yoga classes on here that you can go back to from Dora, so you can have a look at those and maybe practice that and then do the meditation. You can always play these videos later and see, but I do recommend moving. It's just easier to sit and meditate after you've moved a little bit. Okay, enough of that lecture. So hopefully now you're nice and comfy. So just close your eyes and just notice how your body is. Notice how your breathing is. Without changing it, just notice it. Nothing to do here. Notice how you're sitting on your chair or floor or sofa. Just feel the parts of your body that are weighted into the floor or the chair or the sofa. Then notice other parts of your body. If your feet are on the floor, just seeing how that feels. Your shoulders away from your ears. And also just really noticing your jawline. We tend to clench our jaw quite a lot. Not deliberately, just subconsciously. So if you're unsure if your jaw is clenched, a really good thing to do is just to clench it, really clench your jaw, hold it really, really tight, and then let it go. You'll soon realize whether you were holding your jaw or not. Same thing with your brow. You can always really create a really strong frown and then let it go. So you can at least feel the difference. Yeah, and then we're going to just start some breath work. So just to start with, I want you to notice your breath without doing anything. So you're just observing whether it is short, long, deep, shallow, relaxed. And also just noticing if you're breathing into your belly or not. And again, no judgment, you're just noticing. Big part of meditation is just really being aware right now of how you're doing. And then we're going to start breathing in for a count. Maybe 5, maybe 7, maybe 3, depending on your breath. And then breathing out for a longer count. So if you breathe in for 5, you might breathe out for 7, 8. Breathe in for 3, you might breathe out for 5. Breathe in for 7, you might breathe out for 9. It depends how quickly you count, really. So just know that you've got to make the out breath longer. And after you've breathed in, hold that breath just for a couple of beats and then let the out breath go. So we'll do the first one together. So when you're ready, take a nice inhale. Fill yourself all the way up Then hold that breath at the top. And then let it go. And just choosing your count, breathing in for a certain number. Holding the breath at the top of that number for a couple of beats. If you breathed in for 5, breathe out for 7 if you can. Off you go. Just doing this 2 more rounds in your own time. When you finish that second one, just being nice and still, not doing anything, just breathing naturally. This is one of those little places I like to call the space between. We'll be coming back to a lot of these little spaces between where you're just really soft in your belly. There's no effort required, and you're just breathing normally, but you're really just observing, just having that little bit of stillness. It's like taking a break from your conscious breath. Then we're going to get ready to go again. This time we're going to take square breathing. So that means breathing up the side of a square. Let's just say you're going up the left-hand side of the square. Let's say 5. So you're breathing in for 5, up the left-hand side of the square. And then you're holding your breath across the top of the square, 5. And then you're letting the breath go down the right side of the square for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you're holding the breath at the bottom, if you can, for 5. If you find it difficult to hold the bottom breath for 5, often people do, then just start your next square along. It doesn't really matter. You can just draw the next square, start it again. So don't strain, don't make it hard for yourself. You could even maybe shorten the numbers, maybe make it 3. As long as the numbers are the same on every side of this square. So whenever you're ready, just starting that, inhaling up the left-hand side. If you find when you're doing these that you run out of breath, because they are quite tiring, allow yourself to stop and just take a natural couple of breaths and then go back to the square again. See if while you're breathing, you can relax your body a little bit. Try not to tense, especially when you're holding the in-breath. Try not to feel like you're about to burst. Just really try and relax the shoulders. Try and soften every muscle as you're holding that in-breath. And you can just soften as you let it go. Just taking 2 more squares in your own time. No rush. And when you finish that last square, just allowing your breath to just stop again and just go back to that little space between. Everyone breathes at different ratios, so just whenever you're ready, coming back to that nice little space between, allowing yourself just to soften here, just being an observer, just noticing without doing anything at all, no effort required. Staying nice and still. And then after you've had a couple of moments here, just feeling nice and still, nice and relaxed, any thoughts that come into your mind, that's fine. Just let them float away and come back to your breath. Every time you just get a thought, you're just kind of saying, oh, okay, there you go. There's another one. That's fine. Oh, yes, I've got to go back to my breath. And you just keep doing that until your brain gets the idea. And it doesn't matter how many times you have to do it. Just the fact that you're noticing you're having thoughts is the first step to meditation anyway. So never get annoyed. And it happens to everybody. No matter how much practice they've had, they still get random thoughts coming in. It's just how you deal with them. You don't want to get attracted to the thoughts. You just let them kind of come and go, just as if they're kind of passing by a window, and then you just go back to whatever your focus was. All right, so you probably had a bit of a rest now. We're going to take this coherent breathing. Now, the idea is we're going to try and do this for 5 minutes. So I will time you. You don't have to open your eyes or worry about the time. I will time you. But it's really important when we're doing it because it does get quite tiring, or can. You might find it super easy. But if it does get tiring, again, just stop and just let your breath do what it's doing now. This is the most natural your breath can be. Just now in between, just come back there, and then you can always go back to it. So we're going to try, the ideal number is 5. So we're going to try and breathe in for 5 and out for 5. And I'm going to try and do it for 5 minutes. And if that gets tedious, tiring, or you have too many thoughts coming in because you're kind of doing it almost without thinking about it, mess around with it. Maybe try and do it in a different language or count backwards, anything you can. But the important thing is, I want you to imagine that brain wave, sorry, not the brain wave, the heart wave. A lovely, soft, beautiful, even wave, just nicely paced. And imagine that your breath going up and coming down the other side. So both sides are even. If both sides weren't even, that wave wouldn't be nice and even on both sides. Okay? So I'm going to time you. So starting now, breathing in 5 and out for 5. Holding 5 minutes. It might take a little bit of practice to get the two sides even. You might find you've got to breathe out quicker to complete the 5 at the right time, or the same on the in-breath. It might be too long or too short for the 5. So you'll balance that out the more you do it. You might need to lengthen one of the breaths or shorten one of the breaths to have them even-sided. And don't be tempted to rush it either. There's a temptation to speed up the breath sometimes, speed up the numbers. Just keep it nice and even. Gentle breaths. You don't even need to try too hard with the breath. They can be very subtle, shallow breaths, if you like, as long as they're both the same length in and out. Remember, if your mind goes wandering, just come back to your breathing. You can always change the breath. You can count backwards. You can make it another language. Or you could just say a word for 5 beats if you wanted to do that. Whatever works to keep yourself with that breath. And then you can just let that coherent breathing go for a moment. We are going to come back to it, but just have a little breather, quite literally. Let yourself come back to this little space between. Just for a couple of breaths here. Now we're going to start that coherent breathing again. Same number, 5, both in and out. But this time, I want you to think about that thing that you appreciate. Might not be a thing, it could just be a feeling or whatever it might be. Just imagining that. So I want you to start counting again. Start your coherent breathing again. And bring in the feeling of the appreciation. So you can have the visual in your mind, if you like, of, I don't know, whatever it might be, a piece of music or somebody playing something or an artist at work or a painting that you love or an outfit or a beautiful place that you've been to or that you love, a beach somewhere, a mountain you could climb, whatever it is. It could even just be love, from your partner or from a friend or from your family, or just something really nice gesture that happened to you in the street, anything at all. Just getting that idea of that appreciation. So hold it in your heart quite literally and start counting now. So start counting your coherent breath at the same time as the appreciation. So when you're thinking about, off you go now, you just start. I'm just going to talk over you doing that. So feel the appreciation. Do your counting at the same time as you're appreciating. And feel the appreciation filling you up. Feel like you've got it in your body. Like really feel the admiration. And if that's tricky to do, you can even try and quite literally put a smile on your face. You can lift up the corners of your mouth and just feel that divine appreciation. And just feel it in your body. Same feeling of awe, that wonder, like, wow, oh, I love that, or that feels so nice. Just really feeling that lovely, lovely feeling. And if it helps you to create a color that fills up your body with that appreciation, you could do that. As if the appreciation is the color and you're just kind of coloring yourself in with this beautiful, beautiful feeling. And just keeping that counting going as well. So just continue to count up to 5, down that beautiful wave, down the other side, feeling that joy. Maybe with a smile on your face. And now I want you to bring in one more thing. I want you to imagine that you've been given that thing. If it's a feeling and you already have it, then feeling grateful for having it. If it's something somebody's given you in your imagination, feeling the gratitude. So it's really about feeling the gratitude. How would you feel something you really, really value, and then it's yours? And if it was somebody else's holiday, maybe it's yours now. If it's love, you can see somebody else being loved, that's you now, you're being loved. If it's a piece of art, maybe it's yours. Whatever it might be, just feeling that gratitude. And then just placing your hand on your heart. It will help if it's your right hand, just on your heart space, and really feeling that gratitude. And that keep. So you've got this mixture of appreciation and gratitude with that 5 count in and out. Feeling it fill up your chest. And you might notice now that you've been doing the coherent breathing for some time, you might notice that you can let it go. You can let go of the count. You're still breathing that way, but you just kind of got into a bit of a rhythm with it, you know? You're still feeling this appreciation, this gratitude so deeply. You're just breathing nice and rhythmically with that feeling. As you fill yourself up with that feeling, you might even feel the chest expand a little bit on the inhale and lessen on the exhale. And this feeling feels so good that you want to pass it on to somebody else, somebody who needs it. So think about somebody right now in your life that could do with this feeling. And then just transmit that to them just by thinking about them. Think about them receiving it with their hand on their heart. So you're connecting with another. And just noticing what's behind your eyelids. So just you can keep that beautiful feeling as long as you like. Just taking the awareness to the back of your eyelids now, just seeing what colors or shapes or shades or textures you might see behind your eyelids. Just allowing whatever comes up. And seeing how long you can keep that focus before the color changes into another shape or color. A little bit like watching one of those lava lamps behind your eyelids and allowing it to change, because it will change. It doesn't matter how long you try and hold on to an image that you can literally see. It's not an imagined one. You're looking at the back of your eyelids. So whatever light is coming through your eyelids is creating these amazing, sometimes amazing shapes. They can be little clouds, or they can just be big swathes of color. Sometimes it's just dark, you know, it depends how light your room is. But just allowing those things to shift. So you're just this silent observer. Whatever comes up for you. I'm not trying to work it out. Just being really present with whatever presents itself. And then slowly just bring in the sounds of your room. You might let your hands just kind of drop if you were holding your heart. Just let your arm just rest back on your lap again. And just bringing in any kind of local or non-local sounds that you can hear that are happening right now around your space. And combining that with feeling your body, just like you did at the beginning, how you are sitting, the weight of your sitting bones on the chair or the sofa, the floor. Your face, is your jaw relaxed, frown line relaxed, your shoulders relaxed. The whole body just softening. And then slowly bringing yourself back into your space by very gently opening your eyes, and feel like you're sweeping your eyelids along the floor so that you let the light in really gradually. It's really important coming out of a meditation to come out of it slowly. You know, you're kind of just adjusting yourself. You don't want to go into fight or flight mode by waking yourself up too quickly, like an alarm, you know. Just bring yourself out nice and gently. You can look around your space, just kind of, yeah, I'm back, you know. Bringing the sounds, the sights, the feels together. And just knowing that you can take that coherent breathing and make it part of your day any time that you want to. And it's a really healthy state of mind and heart to bring that into your life. So yeah, remember that, the coherent breathing. So even-sided, nice waves up and down, and bringing in the appreciation and the joy, that positive emotion does wonders for your body, for your mind. And yeah, I hope you guys have a beautiful week. Thanks for checking in, and I will see you this time next week.